Americans are currently carrying $1.17 trillion in credit card debt. I want you to sit with that number for a moment. $1,170 billion. Revolving, compounding, growing overnight. The average interest rate on those cards is now over 21%, which means the credit card industry is collecting somewhere in the neighborhood of $240 billion a year in pure interest. Not for goods, not for services, just for the privilege of being owed money. This is a video about how to stop being part of that. Credit card debt, specifically the revolving kind, the balance you carry month to month while making minimum payments and watching it barely move. Not student loans, not mortgages, those are their own separate nightmare, and we'll get to them on a day when I'm feeling stronger. Just the cards. Here's what most people don't actually know about credit cards. The interest doesn't compound monthly, it compounds daily. Every single morning before you've made a single decision or spent a penny, your balance has grown slightly while you slept. The bank calls this the daily periodic rate, which is a phrase designed to sound like something pleasant is happening. What it actually means is that $10,000 at 21% is costing you around $5.75 a day. Every day, including weekends, including Thanksgiving. The credit card company does not observe bank holidays. They are, in this respect, more committed than most people's gym memberships. There are two schools of thought on how to attack debt, and personal finance circles have been arguing about them for 30 years with the energy of people who have genuinely nothing more important to argue about. They are called the Avalanche and the Snowball, and despite the dramatic names, both are just spreadsheet strategies, not extreme sports. The Avalanche is the mathematically correct answer. List every debt you have, ranked highest to lowest by interest rate. Attack the most expensive one first, pay minimums on everything else. When it's gone, move to the next. You pay the least total interest overall. If you showed this to an economist, they would nod approvingly and say something like, yes, this is the optimal approach, and then go back to whatever economists do when they're not making everyone feel quietly inadequate about their finances. The Snowball ignores interest rates entirely. List your debts smallest to largest by total balance. Attack the smallest one first. Throw everything at it. When it's gone, and a small debt can be gone in weeks, roll that entire payment onto the next smallest. Build momentum. Dave Ramsey has been recommending this to Americans for 30 years. He has built a media empire worth roughly $1 billion off the back of it, which is either proof that the system works or proof that Americans will pay serious money for anyone who tells them the system works. Probably both. Here's what most finance content doesn't bother explaining clearly. The Avalanche is mathematically superior, the Snowball is psychologically superior, and psychology wins. There's actual peer-reviewed research on this, published citations and everything, showing that people who use the Snowball method stick to their debt payoff plans significantly longer than Avalanche users. Because when you pay off that first small debt in 6 weeks and watch a whole line disappear from your list, your brain releases enough satisfaction to keep you going for months. With the Avalanche, you could be hammering the same large, high-interest balance for 8 months without a single win. 8 months of effort with nothing visible to show for it. Most people don't have 8 months of that. I'm not sure I have 8 months of that, and I don't even have any credit card debt. So, if your debts are all within a few percentage points of each other, do the Snowball. If you've got one card at 8% and another at 22%, do the Avalanche. The interest gap is too wide to ignore on principle. The strategy you'll actually stick to is the right strategy. That's not motivational. That's just maths applied to human nature. Now, finding the money. Most people assume they need a second job or a windfall or a rich relative who's been keeping very quiet. They usually don't. They need a bank statement and about 30 minutes of honest scrolling. The average American is currently paying for somewhere between 4 and 6 subscription services they've forgotten exist. Not services they don't use, services they don't know they're paying for. Streaming platforms from a specific pandemic phase. Apps downloaded during a very motivated Tuesday in 2022 and opened perhaps once since. They're just quietly billing every month for nothing. Pull up your statement. Scroll through it. Ask yourself for each charge whether you would actively sign up for this today. The answer for several of them will be no. Then, And I cannot stress how unusual this sounds from where I'm standing. Call your service providers. Phone them, not email, an actual phone call. Ask for a better rate on your phone plan, your car insurance, your internet. In Britain, this is completely unremarkable Tuesday behaviour. You ring up, you ask, they say yes or no, you move on. In America, apparently, most people have simply never tried it because they assume the answer is no. The answer is sometimes no. It is also sometimes we can offer you 30% off if you stay, which adds up to hundreds of dollars over a year. The worst outcome is a mildly awkward phone call. The best outcome is a meaningful chunk of money back in your pocket. It costs nothing to ask. Here's the bit nobody's talking about: balance transfer cards. If you have good enough credit to qualify, and many people carrying revolving debt do, you can move your existing credit card balance onto a new card offering 0% interest for anywhere between 12 and 21 months. You pay a transfer fee upfront of 3 to 5%. That's it. The daily interest stops. Completely. On $10,000 at 21%, you're normally paying around $2,000 in interest over a year. The transfer fee on $10,000 is maybe $500. You've just saved $1,500 and bought yourself nearly 2 years with no interest running against you. That's not a financial hack. That's just an option that exists, that the credit card industry doesn't particularly advertise, and that most people carrying debt have never looked into. The catch, and there is always a catch, is that the promotional period ends. When it does, the rate resets, often to something even higher than where you started. This tool only works if you have a concrete plan to clear the balance before the clock runs out. It's not a solution, it's a very generous head start disguised as a new credit card offer. $10,000, 12 months, roughly $830 a month pointed at the right target with a strategy behind it. The tools are there, the maths works. Whether any of it actually happens is between you and your bank statement on a Sunday morning when you'd rather be doing anything else. Right, I'm going to make a cup of tea and think about what daily compounding interest says about the society that invented it. That's a longer conversation.